If you want to talk about budgeting and all that, well, you know somebody I've just had in the previous hour. When you want to talk about cooperatives, then it is Ivan Asimwe, having the face of cooperatives. He's very smartly dressed, I must say. And I was like, ooh, someone's putting on my wedding suit. But anyway, it's good to be smart for TV. I must commend you for that.
Thank you.
Otherwise, how have you been, Ivan?
I'm good. I'm very fine. And I want to thank you so much. Thank you.
How are things in the cooperative movement? How have they been moving on? Just to begin with,
thank you,
know, the entire year, they've had a number of challenges. How has it been? Has it been a tough year, we would say? Has it been smooth sail? She told me that, was my father actually, he told me that those days when we had the old cooperatives, and this is what those guys would do, our leaders would do. I'm like, what? The annual general meeting, we knew that at the end of the day everyone was going to move home with some token. But they would tell you, after they have discussed, you eat, you drink in the evening, that's when they're going to give you a report. And they have made you tired. Then someone says, we never made losses, we never made profits. The report is done. And they would go home, tetukoze magoba, tetufiridwa. So when your analysis of that in the cooperative movement, how has it been?
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers. Good morning, cooperators outside there. I'm privileged to be here in the studio, and I want to thank UBC, as usual, for always giving us this opportunity to share with the cooperators and with the country. So we are so grateful. I think that narrative is not correct, that they would give them food and whatever and whatever. No, it's not. You know, people can talk, but the truth of the matter is that cooperatives were very strong. I think you must have gone to school through cooperatives. I don't know which union, whether Nyakatonzi, whether Banyankole, but for me, it is because of Banyankole Kwetiaran. Because as a child, I used to take coffee there. 1983.
Then they give you a paper.
They give you a paper, a piece of paper, which was a receipt. And the receipt was a cash equivalent.
True.
A cash equivalent. You would take it to a school, to a hospital, and it was okay. And by then, really, I cannot say that everybody was well off, but generally, the gap between the poor and the rich was a bit narrow. It was not like today. You know, capitalism is very bad to an economy like Uganda, because you want everybody to participate. That's why government is now struggling with these other programs, PDM, put the resources down to the parish level. But I think, ultimately, if we are to move forward as a country, we need to focus on cooperatives, because cooperatives bring resources closer to the people. Because you can imagine we are all here seated as members of a cooperative. We produce our coffee, aggregate it together, add value, and market it together. So it means that us as members, the money comes back to the economy. But now it's a situation where there is a middleman positioning himself somewhere and is determining the price. So all the benefits are going to an individual. So it means that you are growing one person at the expense of 1,000 coffee farmers. So like you have mentioned, I'm Ivan Asimwe, the General Secretary of Uganda Cooperative Alliance, and I'm happy to be here to share with the viewers, especially to understand the role of cooperatives. Are cooperatives good to a society like Uganda? So the answer is yes.
Maybe before even we go to the role of cooperatives, I want our audience to better understand, when you talk about Uganda Cooperative Alliance, what is this? What is your mandate?
Thank you. Uganda Cooperative Alliance is the umbrella body or the apex body for all registered cooperative societies in Uganda. It was established on the 17th of June, 1961. It is now 61 years old. Very old, it's older than us here. And that was the time when the cooperative movement was very strong in the country. Cooperatives had 100% monopoly to gin cotton. They were controlling coffee, both Arabic and Robusta. So they had a lot of money. Controlling almost 325,300,500 Uganda shillings, which was almost 80% of the budget. So they now thought of the representation or the person to represent them at both national and international level. So they formed the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. In 1991, Parliament gave us a legal mandate as UCA. If you check through the law, both the amended and the old law, UCA is captured as the apex body for all registered cooperative societies. And currently, we have, the last time I checked, beginning of this month, we have over 41,119 registered cooperatives. So UCA is the apex or the mother of all those. So the mandate of UCA mainly is lobby and advocacy, as per section 29 of the Cooperative Societies Act, which says that the board of Uganda Cooperative Alliance shall engage government on matters of policy relating to the cooperative movement.
That brings me also to another question. That is, what are cooperatives? Because history in Uganda has it that we are looking at agriculture based. You talk about cooperatives, you're talking about farmers, either they are into crop or even animal. But today, you find it very hard to tell a person that a SACCO, credit savings, that is a cooperative. So, for the benefit still of our viewers, what is the definition? How can we know that, yes, that is a cooperative? And either they should know that maybe they should be a member, or they can choose to continue the way they are.
Thank you. Maybe just to give me 1 minute to finish the mandate of UCA. The other role of UCA is conflict resolution, which is also a legal mandate, section 73 of the Cooperative Societies Act as amended. Then capacity building is our role, resource mobilization, and any other cooperative development work. Now, very interesting, what is a cooperative? A cooperative, by definition, I don't want to define it like the theorists, but literally a cooperative refers to an association of persons united voluntarily to meet their social, economic, cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. The definition is clear. It's an association of persons. You come together, both biological and artificial persons. You come together to meet your social, economic, cultural needs and aspirations. There is nobody who tells you that you form. No, it's clear. An association of persons, you come together to meet your social, economic, cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned, you all own it. And democratically controlled, you elect your own leadership. There is nobody who will dictate this one should. No, it is your own. And a cooperative is based on 7 principles. That's why cooperatives, some people make mistakes. You know, some people here tend to know cooperatives better than others who have studied and who have worked in them. He talks very well about cooperatives. But when the person comes here and you ask him, what is a cooperative? He starts telling you certain things. So, but a cooperative ideally is based on 7 principles. These are internationally agreed principles to manage and to govern cooperatives, plus values. And the cooperatives are based on 4 pillars. Pillar number 1 is ownership. You own it, chintu chafe. Then there is control. You control it, it is yours. You use it, it is yours, it is your asset, it is your investment. And then you benefit out of it. So the moment you hear something which does not meet the definition of a cooperative, 1, which is not based on 7 principles, which does not consider the values, and does not consider the the pillars, the 4 pillars, then it is not a cooperative. It is something different. Let me give you an example. If I came inside here and I told you people, you BC staff, you form something and I give you money, that is not a cooperative. That is not a cooperative, because a cooperative is initiated by ourselves. Like here we are seated in this room, a lion enters, then you say, no, come together and we fight the enemy. That is a cooperation. You initiate it yourselves. You say, we are coffee farmers, but we are tired of exploitation. Like it happened in 1913 at Chenakuria. You say, we are tired, we no longer want this exploitation. We are coffee farmers, why are we exploited? Can't we come together and control our coffee? That is a cooperative. But when someone says, organize something and I give you money, please, that is not a cooperative.
But I've seen many of them have branded cooperatives. I've seen many of them, I don't want to say registered members, but they are fully registered. Actually, not with the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, but recognized by a number of financial institutions that regard them as cooperatives. I've seen politicians move all over because even credit savings circles are cooperatives, not so? They qualify to be, they're cooperatives. But many are told, form a circle, get money.
Thank you so much. A circle is a cooperative. Yes. It is a savings and credit cooperative organization. Now, these are the challenges, and that's why we are here. That's why we come to the studio, to enlighten the masses. Like I've told you, very few people here understand the cooperatives. Some of them think that when you form such a thing, then it becomes a cooperative. Yes, it may be registered. Of course, there are challenges in Uganda and Africa generally. Challenges are there. But the truth of the matter, if you are to look at the principles of cooperatives, the values and the pillars, we need to be sincere with one another and know that if we are to move forward, this is the way to go. This is, if you are talking about a cooperative, this is how it is supposed to be. Yes, we appreciate manage poverty, but the ideally what should be done is to sit with the technical team, to sit with the UCA, to sit with the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives and the scholars, so that we design a model that is sustainable. Otherwise, you will come up with a program, a very good program on paper, but implementation becomes a problem. Because as long as the ideology, because a cooperative is based on an ideology. What is the ideology? The ideology is that you are coming together to solve a challenge that is affecting you, not coming in together to get an opportunity that you have been promised. So the challenges are there, and we try to make sure that we work with the government, we sensitize the government, we sensitize the politicians for them to work with us so that we have structures that are really sustainable. Look at these circles, the savings and credit cooperative organizations. If I can just take you briefly. Around the 1990s, when the cooperative movement was completely down, UCA, working with the other development partners and of course with the government, we came up with a model, which was the village bank model. I think you remember those village banks. Now, the village banks were established across the country. And then eventually, they transformed into savings and credit cooperative organizations. If you went down there, you will find those circles are still there and very strong circles. Go to Chamuhunga, go to Ebo, go to Ryamujungu, go to Moyo Sako. Those ones are still very strong. Why? They understood the ideology. Because the ideology was go to a community, sensitize them, for them to understand that they have an enemy. So how do they solve this problem? Come together and then we solve that challenge. The idea was not organize and we'll give you money. That is wrong. So like if government was to help people down there, if I was the one coordinating this program, it would ideally, you begin with community mobilization and sensitization. If you want a program to sustain, to be sustainable, first work on the mindset.
Now, who can we hold accountable for cooperative education in this country?
Cooperative education, you are now driving me to something very interesting. Ideally, cooperative education is the role of Uganda Cooperative Alliance, which is capacity building, the role of the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. We have a fully fledged department of cooperatives and the cooperative colleges. Now let me tell you about, let's say, Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Ideally, how do we generate revenue? We get money from the partners and we also get subscriptions from the members. But this is not enough to make us cover the whole country to build the capacities. That's why we squeeze time, and I appreciate you, because I am now doing the role of UCA, educating the masses outside there. So that is our work. Now you go to the cooperative colleges. Ideally, Mr. Chirabo, government has come up with very good programs focusing on cooperatives. Take an example of the parish development model, where we are to register and operationalize over 10,000 circles across the country. But the question is, do we have the human resource?
Because I'm told most of the people want, especially how you have to go to Tanzania.
I am still coming. Do they have the human resource? Do we have the people who are trained to manage these cooperatives? So before you even think of rolling it out, you should have thought of building the capacity, building the human resource to operate in these cooperatives. Now, interestingly, if you are to go to cooperative education here, we have now 2 cooperative colleges, Chigumba and Tororo. For Chigumba, they started in 1954 at Nsamizi. 1963, it went to Bukarasa. 1974, it went to Chigumba. Now, look at Kenya. The Cooperative College of Kenya started in 1967, many years after Uganda. Almost those are 13 years after Uganda. In 2016, it graduated into a fully fledged university, the Cooperative University of Kenya. Now, I was sharing with the Chancellor, they are now going to PhD. From certificate, bachelor's, diplomas, they are now going to PhD. Moshi University of Tanzania was established on the 5th of January, 1963. That's where it started from. Moshi, where our president taught. In fact, his room, his house, the residential house, is the resource center for PhD at Moshi. Now, it was established then, 1963, after Uganda. Those are almost 9 years after establishing ours here. But they are offering PhDs in cooperatives. For us here, from 1954, we are offering certificates and diplomas. Now the question is, after diploma, what next? What next? We are all Ugandans. We are asking ourselves.
You move out of the country like you did.
You can imagine. But how many people have the capacity to go to Tanzania, to go to Kenya? Why can't we have a university here? You can imagine, if you can have a course here, is it conflict resolution? Conflict resolution, these other courses. How come that you cannot have a university of cooperatives? Because ideally, there is no way you can promote a sector without looking at the local content. You need to train people. So we need graduates, we need professors, we need doctors in cooperatives. Because these are many. So you are looking at the Myoga program, you are looking at the parish development model, and other programs. We are really happy with the government because they are promoting cooperatives. But there is a mismatch. You are not growing the human resource to manage these cooperatives. I will tell you today, you will go to a cooperative and meet a manager of a cooperative. Just sit with him and ask him, what is a cooperative? He has been a manager. He cannot define. And he's a manager of a circle.
Neither does he have the history.
Meet the auditors. I am an auditor by profession. But we don't study cooperatives. We have international financial reporting standards. We have the international public sector accounting. We do not study cooperatives. But you come back and you need to go and audit a cooperative. So you find that you are using company accounts or company knowledge to audit a cooperative, which is ideally is wrong, because a cooperative is not a company. But we are trained the accounts of companies. So already there is a mismatch. So there is that cooperative education. Then you go to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. Of course, if you have to look at the budget allocation, there is a very big challenge. That is why, as UCA, we are really asking government, is there a way that you can elevate the Department of Cooperatives into a directorate? Because these are 41,119 cooperatives in the country, both primary cooperatives, secondary cooperatives, tertiary, and UCA, which is the apex. So we need that to be elevated to a directorate, and then you allocate a bigger budget for it to be able to provide education and oversight role. So this is what you asked me about education. Yes, education is paramount, but we need a lot. Government needs to work a lot in terms of promoting it. Then you go to secondary. We have engaged the National Curriculum Development Center, and I have had a meeting with the director myself. And I'm asking questions, Chirabo, between me and you. Why should you teach my child St. Lawrence Seaway, Tennessee Valley, British Columbia, the French Revolution, Canadian Prairies? You get me? Those things. Why don't you focus the curriculum to the current situation? Why do we go to school? Do we go to school just to speak English? No. We go to school to get skills and knowledge to come and transform our economies. So look at our education, surely. I am an accountant, but I did Tennessee Valley St. Lawrence Seaway. Were they training me to go and audit St. Lawrence Seaway? So, but cooperatives, these are vessels for socio-economic transformation. So we have engaged them and we are saying, can we sit together so that we have a curricula from senior secondary one factored in, so that our children, our young people from senior one understand cooperatives. Like it is in other countries. You go to America, you go to Europe, you go to Malaysia. Cooperative education is taught at lower levels. So that even if you dropped out, you see our president has been encouraging the skills-based cooperatives, emyoga. But the challenge is, yes, you are supporting these people, but do they understand cooperatives? That is, but if they had studied it from senior secondary one, by this time, they would be knowing what a cooperative is, the principles, the definition, the values, the pillars, and all of that, so that they are able to work together and grow this economy.
Well, that is the bit of education, cooperative education in our country. We are still looking at actually the role of cooperatives in socio-economic development. How best? And of course, later we shall look at the strategic way forward by the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Allow me to go for a very short break. And when we return, we'll continue with this discussion where we want to ensure that at least every Ugandan watching can understand and also have that urge to come up and be among the cooperative movement, because we know this is self-inspired, that you believe, you voluntarily come together, then form a cooperative. Of late, we've seen a mismatch where it's all about, there's this money somewhere, form a group, and we say form a cooperative, then you can be able to access this money. And Ivan says that is the wrong thing. And that is why maybe most of the times, recovering, even when we say it's a revolving fund, you use it, someone else can use it, it all doesn't work as expected because the foundation was wrong. Let's return.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Oh, Susan, I want to propose to Rose. Yes, and this time I am serious.
Have you guys had sex?
Duh, of course.
And have you had sex without using condoms?
Hey, nga you're curious.
I'm more concerned. Are you having sex with other people?
Hey, hello, is this an interview or what?
No, just things you should think about. Do you know Rose's HIV status?
Okay, this is serious. Should I be worried?
It is actually serious. Do you know your HIV status?
I think I am safe. Many times we get into situations that put us at risk of HIV. However, the first step to ending HIV is getting tested and knowing your results.
It's Time Up HIV. Call 0800-211-046 or text 8080 toll-free for more information about how to prevent HIV.
This message is brought to you by Ministry of Health with support from USAID.
Capital Shoppers. We have a variety of items like gift hampers, foods, garments, cosmetics, and all sorts of drinks. Enjoy your shopping experience this festive season at affordable prices in our fully stocked branches in the following areas: in Tinder Station Road, opposite Makere Business School along Port Bell Road, Duster Street opposite Nakasero Market, and Garden City on Yusuf Lule Road. At Capital Shoppers, we offer you value for your money. To all our customers and suppliers, we thank you for your continuous support. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
It's our mission to secure your money.
Protecting your money is as important as earning it. It is for this reason that the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, DPF, was established by the government of Uganda to provide deposit protection to customers of regulated financial institutions. In the unlikely event that your commercial bank, credit institution, or microfinance deposit-taking institution fails, the DPF will pay you up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Keep your personal information such as national identification number, mobile phone, or an alternative bank account updated with your banker. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, contact DPF at Aha Towers, Plot 7 Lodell Road, Kampala. Call 0312-206-400 or visit our website at www.dpf.or.ug.
We are the DPF. We protect your money. Protection Fund of Uganda.
Paul, this is such a big investment.
Yes, but life is even a greater investment.
Our doctors recommend Hemofort to help in quick recovery.
Hemofort is a medical syrup that's recommended for people of all ages, pregnant women, and people from all lines of work. Hemofort syrup helps the body's growth of red blood cells. It contains iron, vitamins, folic acid, and other essential elements necessary to keep both children and adults healthy and active. Hemofort. Build a fort around your family today. Keep all medicines away from children. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor.
Get yourself a Zuku TV decoder and satellite dish today at a low price of only 105,000 Ugandan shillings and a Zuku decoder at only 60,000 Ugandan shillings, and enjoy your favorite movies, series, kids entertainment, music, local and international news, and lots more. Enjoy amazing packages like Zuku Smart, Zuku Smart Plus, Zuku Classic, Zuku Premium, and Zuku Asia. Get connected today. Zuku, life got better.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. It is still Good Morning Uganda Extra on UBC TV. Robert Chirabo with Ivan Asimwe, who happens to be the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance, and we are looking at cooperatives in Uganda. It's been a long journey. At one time, they were almost no more. Then we had a rebirth of cooperatives in Uganda. But since then, how have we moved? What impact have they put on the socio-economic development of this country? Well, when you ask people in their 60s, 50s, they have so much stories to talk about cooperatives. How they were able to go to school because of cooperatives, how they would carry produce to these cooperatives, and then many will tell you this is how we were educated. Today, well, it is still, I want to say, very few agriculture-based cooperatives are thriving. I think Bugisu is still kicking on, doing very well. There, our brother Nanda Mafabi, sometimes he has legal challenges, then he overcomes, but I would say, then Wanyankole Kweterana, I must say, it's also...
Then Ankole Coffee process.
Then Ankole Coffee process. And there are new ones that are also doing well. There's one in Masaka called Chibinge.
Yes.
Chibinge, they are doing tremendous. They're even exporting a lot of coffee as a cooperative. So let's look at also the legal regime. When you talk about how has it supported cooperatives, because and how is it easy to cooperate?
Thank you so much. Before I go to the legal regime, I would want the listeners, because sometimes when you talk about cooperatives, some people think that they just started yesterday. Before, you know, if I can give the biblical view, when God was creating man, you remember asking, in fact, it was, let us create man. That means there was a cooperation at that level. It was already there. Let us. So he was not alone. You continue, go to the book of Genesis. When the Israelites were leaving Egypt, going back to the promised land, Moses alone. You remember that story? How they cooperated, because the enemies had attacked them, and they had to work together through cooperation to defeat the enemies. Then still Moses and Joshua, where now Joshua is supposed to come in, working with Moses, he takes over until these people, the Israelites, reach the promised land. Now, the story of Jesus, where Jesus got 12 disciples, they cooperated, they worked together, and the gospel has been spread to date. So that is about cooperation. Now globally, cooperatives started in 1761. You can imagine, 14th of March 1761, when they formed the first cooperative society called Fenwich Weavers Society. That is the first one, but it was not the modern cooperative. And then in 1844, that's when we have the first modern. The other one was the first cooperative society, but it was not modern. Where the weavers came together and they formed
that you can give
a cooperative society.
One common denominator is they were fighting oppression.
Of course, they were fighting exploitation, especially exploitation. Because like these weavers were working individually in 1761, but they said, no, we cannot. They were being exploited. And they said, no, let's work together as a team. 1844, in Rochide, they also came together, and that's when they formed the first modern cooperative society. Then you come to Uganda here. In 1913, the cooperators in Mubende, they sat together because they were being exploited. You know, that was the time of the colonial rule. And the colonials were together with the middlemen of Arab origin. So they exploited the farmers, and they said, no, we need to work together. And that's why the first cooperative society is called China Kuriya in Uganda. The enemy is just waiting to swallow you. So unless you come together, you'll all vanish. 1920, 5 groups sat at Mengo here in Kampala, and they formed the Mengo Buganda Growers that later gave birth to the 3 unions, Wamara, East and West Mengo. Now, from there, of course, the colonial government was not happy. You know, when people come together, especially the colonialists, they would get scared. So you asked about the legal framework. So from 1913 to 1946, there was no law. So these colonialists, because there was too much pressure from the farmers, they agreed to have a law, and they put in place the first Cooperative Societies Ordinance of 1946, which was a bad law because it was made in the interests of the colonialists, not the Africans. So in 1952, when Andrew Cohen came in, the farmers petitioned his government, and he set up a committee of inquiry. And the committee came up with a report on the 11th of June 1952, and this was the one that cleared the space for the cooperative movement to flourish. That's when you see all of these unions register under that law, under that regime. Then 1963, then again another law in 1970. The one of 1970 took away the autonomy and independence, which is a principle, the first principle of cooperatives. And then that is when we see cooperatives start to collapse in Uganda, because the moment there is a law that takes away the autonomy and independence of cooperatives, then automatically you go back to zero. So some people ask, what led to the cooperatives? What was the reason? So it started from that law.
Some say mismanagement.
No, so I'm still coming.
But those that were running them decided to become...
When they made that law, when the law was enacted, of course, taking away the autonomy and independence, things started going down. Now, in 1991, of course, under the NRM government, they came up with an amendment, and then we have the 1991 Cooperative Societies Act that again brought back the autonomy and independence. Now, unfortunately, I want the viewers to listen to this. In 2003, Bank of Uganda amended the MDI Act to allow SACCOs to be regulated by BOU, bigger SACCOs. Then in 2016, government came up with a new law, which is Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act, to regulate, to supervise savings and credit cooperative organizations. Then again in 2020, the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives came up with an amendment, and the Cooperative Societies Act was amended, and the SACCOs are supposed now to come back to under the supervision and regulation by the Registrar of Cooperatives. So this is the legal lacuna that we have been talking about. So as UCA and the cooperators across the country, we came up and said, no, we want SACCOs to be regulated. But can we have a single regulator? Can we have a good law like it is in Kenya? Kenya has got a single regulator for SACCOs, which is SASRA, the SACCO Regulatory Authority. So why would you now subject SACCOs in Uganda to 3 laws? If I was a SACCO today, where would I belong? Because when you go to if you go to Tier 4, Tier 4 requires SACCOs to be regulated by Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. Then again, the Cooperative Societies Amendment says, no, let SACCOs come back this side. Then the Bank of Uganda says, no, let the bigger SACCOs with a threshold of 500 million share capital and 1.5 voluntary savings come to us. We wouldn't have a problem. But problem number 1, yes, you are going to regulate these SACCOs. Are you going to maintain their ideology, the cooperative ideology? Because the moment you regulate a cooperative like a company, you get a problem. You must maintain the ideology of a cooperative. So that is challenge number 1. Challenge number 2, look at you see, like I've mentioned before, bring all SACCOs together, have a single regulator, set up very good laws, have a good policy for them to work. And again, don't divorce them from the other forms of cooperatives. Because you see, cooperatives work in an ecosystem. That is why UCA, when we were supporting the formation of these cooperatives across the country, we were mindful of the model that would make them sustainable, which is called the tripartite model. The tripartite cooperative model works in a sense that if Mr. Chirabo is a farmer, a coffee farmer, then you are linked to your coffee cooperative and again linked to the market and to the circle. Such that if you need money, you don't need to sell your coffee garden or your coffee before it matures, because you can easily get money through your circle. And then once the coffee has been harvested, you take it or you aggregate it with your cooperative, and then your cooperative will pay you through the circle. That's the tripartite model. Now here, government would be listening to UCA and buying a leaf from this model. How does it work? You are now talking about the parish development model. It's very good on paper. Very good, designed by academicians. But you know, theory and practical are different.
So you have a question with applicability?
Yes, applicability, because you see, when you develop a model based on theory, it doesn't work.
Well, Ivan, time is not so much on our side, I must say, but you've really explained so much regarding cooperatives and the role of the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Now, just in the remaining minutes, I want to look at the strategic way forward, if there is, by Uganda Cooperative Alliance.
Thank you so much. So, first of all, I want to thank the cooperators, because we have successfully gone through 2022. We are almost finishing it now. And though with a lot of hurdles, with a lot of challenges, of course, challenges of Ebola, challenges of COVID, the economic hardships, but I want to thank them that we have gone through it, though we haven't concluded it yet, but at least where we are heading, we are almost at 99%. So I want to thank them. And then, of course, strategically, we are moving. And strategically, in the next year or 2 or 3 years, we are focused, of course, we are guided by our strategic plan. We are looking at how do we promote cooperative education, as earlier mentioned, because cooperative education is the center of everything. Then again, the cooperative bank. Wanachirabo, cooperative bank plays a very big role. You go to Kenya and see their cooperative bank. It's doing very well. And I'm happy with the government, because we are working together with the Ministry for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. They have already okayed the study, and the report is ready. Very soon we shall have a meeting. We look at it, because we have done benchmarking in other countries, and then eventually we work together with the government and the partners to ensure that we have our cooperative bank up and running as it was. Because it had been established in 1964. Then in 1999, yes, the Uganda Cooperative Bank. In 1999, it got challenges and it was closed, but we are now in the process of re-establishing it. So that is another strategy. The other strategy is about research and development. We need research. Research is very critical in every sector. Because as I'm speaking today, I may not authoritatively tell you how much is contributed by the cooperative sector, but at least I know in this country, cooperatives are contributing 2.68% of our GDP.
Okay.
And so, and they are employing over 200 people, Ugandans. And then globally, if you are to look at the global picture, cooperatives, their net assets now are around 20 trillion, and their annual turnover is around 3 trillion. So you can see. Now, if you go to our neighbor here in Kenya, cooperatives are contributing 45% of Kenya's GDP. So, and that is where we are heading. I want us to work together strategically to make sure that we move away from the 2.6 single digit to a double digit. And it is possible working together as partners. So all of that can be done through research. We do research thoroughly, we see where we are, and then strategically focus in the future. Then we are also looking at, of course, research. We are also looking at agro-processing. How do we support cooperatives to go into processing? Because like we have mentioned, if you are, let's say, talking about Ankole Coffee Producers Cooperative Union, Chibinge, Bugisu, Rwenzori, and others, they are exporting coffee, but coffee in raw form. Is there a way strategically that we can now change this coffee and export a finished product? And I'm happy because government, we have had meetings with government, His Excellency, we are trying to see how do we together come up with maybe have a factory in coffee, solve a plant, so that instead of exporting raw coffee in raw form, we export a finished product. So those are some of the strategic areas that we are focusing on, and of course, not putting aside government interventions. Yes, government has come in with the different programs, but how do we guide government? How do we work together with the government to make sure that, for example, PDM becomes a success? Yet, yes, there may be some challenges along the way, maybe in design, but they are workable. So we are strategically saying, let's work together with the government. Of recent, we met His Excellency at Chobe, and in his talk, he really loves to see Ugandans in the cooperatives. So given that opportunity, how do we work together and ensure that we move the cooperative sector going forward? And lastly is engaging government to support cooperatives from primary up to secondary. Support does not mean in terms of money, but it can be technical, it can be in any way, streamline the system, upgrade the ministry, upgrade the cooperative colleges, support the Apex, support the unions, so that everything works by itself. So I really want to thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to wish everyone, the cooperators and all Ugandans, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Well, thank you so much, Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance. I'm sure there is so much you've learned about cooperatives. There is so much, more so being that it should be individual-led. Then you come to a group, form a cooperative to solve the challenges you're facing. I hope this is something that we shall really emphasize. We've made a number of mistakes in the formation of many of these cooperatives, where it is about there is money, let's form a cooperative. But moving forward, we hope that is something that we shall follow. But also, knowing that there are enormous benefits being a member of a cooperative, and also the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Well, all I want to say is Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We are still in this time. Be very, very conscious. Do not be taken by excitement. There are many other Christmases ahead. We don't want to lose you because you're excited. Our brothers and sisters are just jetting in the country, the so-called river summer. Please you've not been home, you don't know the roads very well. That excitement is something you should fight. And lastly, also your expenditure. January is usually longer than other months. So a word of caution there. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Get yourself a Zuku TV decoder and satellite dish today at a low price of only 105,000 Ugandan shillings, and a Zuku decoder at only 60,000 Ugandan shillings, and enjoy your favorite movies, series, kids entertainment, music, local and international news, and lots more. Enjoy amazing packages like Zuku Smart Plus, Zuku Classic, Zuku Premium, and Zuku Asia. Get connected today. Zuku, life got better.